Here we go, section 2. Solving equations by multiplying and dividing. If you understood yesterday's lesson, it should be equally as easy. It says multiplication and division are inverse operations. When solving equations, we use these operations to separate a variable from a coefficient or from its coefficient in a term. If you have something connected to a variable, such as look at our examples down here. The first one's 4x equals negative 12. In this problem, look at the 4 and the x. Yesterday we had either like x plus 4 or x minus 4, but now we have 4x. What does that mean, 4x? 4 times x. When trying to move this, okay, again, you do the opposite of, as soon as it moves across that equal sign, it changes to its opposite. So if I want to get rid of multiplication by 4, because that is 4 times x, when you move it to the other side, it becomes division by 4. Okay, the same way as yesterday's lesson. Whenever you move it, it changes to the opposite. So we now have x equals negative 12 divided by 4, which is negative 3. Any questions? You move multiplication across, it becomes divided by. You move divided by across, it becomes multiplied by. Good. Next one, negative 7x equals negative 21. Again, in order to get rid of multiplication, what do? You divide by negative 7. Gets rid of it. So you get x equals positive 3. Because a negative divided by negative is positive. 21 divided by 7, 3. Any questions? Next problem. This shouldn't take long today. 4 equals 5w. What are we trying to get by itself? The w, what are we trying to get rid of? The 5. What's the relationship between the 5 and the w? Multiplication. You're multiplying by 5. So to get rid of multiplication by 5, what are you going to do? You're going to divide by 5. Gets rid of it. Once you move it across that equal sign, again, I want you to think of it as moving it over. Multiplying by 5, get rid of it, dividing by 5. Well, how do you do 4 divided by 5? You don't have to. Because what is 4 divided by 5? 4/5. And I would like you to write divided by when you're moving it over. You notice on these first 3 problems, I've wrote it as a bar. I don't want you to write it as 4 divided by 5. I don't want that, okay? Write it as a fraction bar. Any questions about that? Because that fraction bar does mean divided by. What if I did divide that? What would that do to this problem? It'd make it 0.8. Is that the same thing? Yeah, it's just the decimal approximation. Okay, 4/5 is the same thing as 0.8. Next problem. T divided by negative 3.2 is 5. T divided by negative 3.2 is equal to 5. Okay, what are we trying to get by itself? What are we trying to get by itself? The T. What's with the T? Negative 3.2. What's the relationship between T and negative 3.2? So again, T is being divided by negative 3.2. Does everybody understand that? So when you move division by negative 3.2 across that equal sign, what does it change to? Times negative 3.2. Is there any questions about that? I don't know of any other way I can explain it, so it's gone now. We moved it over. So I now have T equals 5 times negative 3.2. Is that going to be a negative or a positive? Negative, because a positive times a negative is a negative. 5 times 3.2 is 16. Good job. You can type that into your calculator if you want to do it by hand. 3.2 times 5. You don't have to line decimals up when you're multiplying. 5 times 2 is 10. Carry the 1. 5 times 3 is 15. And 1 is 16. How do you know where to put the decimal? Don't bring it down. No. One number to the right of the decimal up here. One number to the right of the decimal in your answer. You can't just bring it straight down. Because if there was a decimal here as well, then you would actually have it over here between 1 and 6, because there would be 2 numbers to the right of the decimal. So make sure you don't just bring it straight down. Next one, D divided by 3 is negative 5.4. What am I trying to get by itself? How am I going to get it by itself? You're going to multiply by 3. Good. Because you got D divided by 3. To change that, you're going to multiply by 3. So you're going to do times 3. That moves it over. So you have D equals a negative times a positive. Negative 5.4 times 3. 12, carry the 1, 16, where do you put the decimal? 16.2. Why did we put it there? There's one number to the right of the decimal. Good job, Tom. Next problem. Nearly finished already. 3 equals m divided by 1.5. What are we trying to get by itself? M. What are we trying to get rid of? 1.5. How are we going to get rid of 1.5? Times 1.5. Why are we multiplying by 1.5? Because m is being divided by 1.5. So when it moves over, it becomes times 1.5. Huh? No. You change the operation. Don't change the sign. The reason we changed the negative to a plus because it was a minus something. We moved it over, changed it to a plus. If you have just divided by 1.5, move it over, change it to times 1.5. So 1.5 times 3. 3 5s is 15. Carry the 1. 3 1s is 3, and 1 is 4. 4.5. So actually, the 4.5 should be on this side, right? We can switch it around. We've learned the properties before. It doesn't matter how you write it. 4.5 is m. M is 4.5. Same thing. Any questions? I want to go one step further and kind of clear up something that might confuse you down the road. Look at this problem. 3 divided by x equals 4. I don't know, you tell me. You're trying to get x by itself. But you have not x divided by 3, you have 3 divided by x. I don't think there's going to be on your homework like this, but I do want to show it to you because I kind of want you to know how to solve these. So we want to know how to get x by itself. You've got 3 divided by x. Up to this point, we've been getting rid of what's on bottom, correct? You've got divided by x. You didn't have, like, on the previous problems, you'd have divided by 3, divided by 4, divided by 5, but here you had divided by x. Any ideas? How would you get x by itself? Because even if you get rid of the 3, it's on the bottom of a fraction. It's not really by itself. That is a wonderful idea. Why not move the x to the other side and then move the 4? Remember that trick I showed y'all the other day about getting x by itself? How would we move x to the right side? Since you have divided by x, when you move it to the other side, you have times x, correct? So what would you have then? 3 equals 4x. Now it's easy, right? How do you get x by itself? Move the 4 over, so what would x equal? 3 divided by 4, 3/4. Any questions? That looks odd that x would be 3/4 though. 3 divided by 3/4 equals 4. Can you do that? Can you have a fraction and a fraction? Sure. Because what does fraction bar mean? Divided by. This is simply 3 divided by 3/4. Let's see if that is 4. How do you divide fractions? Do you know? This is actually, by the way, this is called a complex fraction. Anytime you have a fraction and a fraction, you've got a complex fraction. How do you divide two fractions? Flip the second one, which in this case, this is the second one, and what do? Good job. Flip the second one and you multiply. So that would be 12 over 3, which equals 4. It is true. Any questions?